Hello, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Israel in Style. I'm Emmanuel Kadosh here with all the latest in Israeli fashion, culture, and lifestyle. Every week, the hottest designers, biggest Israeli celebs, and the coolest bloggers come into the studio and tell their stories and share their experiences. And today's show is no different. But before we get started with the show, let's take a look at my top 5 from last week, focusing on the greatest fashion innovations to come out of this year's Tel Aviv Fashion Week. Check it out. Fashion Week in Tel Aviv is behind us, and with that comes all different types of innovations presented at the shows. Well, I'm here to give you guys the top 5 innovations found at the Tel Aviv Fashion Week. Number 1 on our list, 3D pattern making. Made in Israel, Optitex software allows designers to perfect their garments before sewing or cutting by combining 2D designs with 3D pattern making. Through this partnership with Optitex and one of Israel's best design schools, Shankar, students are able to update their skills as often as the software updates. 3D printing is the new thing, people. Second on our list is brought to us by Israeli textile designer Moriel Dezaldeti. Moriel developed a textile technique that blurs the lines between 3D art objects and clothing by combining knitting and weaving with modern techniques such as laser cuts and digital embroidery. Using this technique ultimately creates unique, timeless designs. Third up is the Twine solution. The textile industry is responsible for 20% of the world's water pollution, which is where the Petah Tikva-based startup comes in. Twine solution enables on-demand textile thread dyeing in an eco-friendly process that requires no water. The technology behind this is unbelievable and helps eliminate dead stock and other waste costs. Doesn't get much better than that. Fourth on our list comes from the Israeli designer Stav Hoffman. This young designer is taking embroidery to the next level. Instead of sticking with the traditional embroidery methods, Stav used synthetic hair to create intricate floral patterns and braiding. Hoffman even won first prize in the London's Hand and Lock embroidery competition just last year for her unique designs and technique. Last but not least is brought to us by another young Israeli designer, Dana Cohen. Cohen focuses on sustainability as well as giving new life to old textiles by collecting used fabrics, shreds them to make soft, felt-like materials for her collections. Fun fact about this young designer, she even used 5 NASA photographs to guide the patterns of the green, red, and pink felts. Now that's just thinking outside the box. So, with us in the studio now is the young designer who is actually 4th on that list, Stav Hoffman. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm so excited that you're in here in the studio. I've been dying to interview and hear all about your technique. But before we get into that, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got into the fashion world?
I actually found my love for fashion when I was in New York with my grandma in 2012. She was always very chic and very classy, and she took me really into the very high-end fashion design stores and showed me like what really is beautiful about them. And I just fell in love so much that right away I really wanted to start studying fashion.
You're like, I need to be doing this.
Yes.
It sounds so interesting. There's so much more to fashion than you know the normal person knows about,
Right,
and you
right.
kind of wanted to dig in deeper.
Right.
So why don't you actually tell us about the technique that got you onto this top 5 list? Because a lot of designers, you know, were showcasing their things in Tel Aviv Fashion Week, but you were put on the top 5 innovative list. So what is it?
It's very exciting. I was working on a wedding dress course design, and my inspiration was actually the Victorian age. People actually used hair. When someone passed away, they would keep their hair. They would put it either in a locket or make a flower of it, and every person that passed away, they would add a flower.
Oh, okay.
Right, because there was no photographs, so
Right.
that's the way you could remember your family. And this was actually the main inspiration for my project. So I actually tried to see how I could take this hair
Right.
tradition, and I used synthetic hair, and I actually had to really see how I can work with it in modern day material
Right,
and fabric
of
and put it
course.
on fabric. So I actually had to make up some of my own utensils and techniques for actually embroidering it, and I used many different tools that actually weren't belonging to this type
Right.
of technique.
Which is so innovative. You know, I feel like as young designers, like, we're always saying, like, what could we make up now? You know what I mean? Everybody's done it all, and like you took something that you didn't even think was possible,
Right.
and you made it possible. So as a young designer, how did you feel showcasing in Tel Aviv Fashion Week? Was this the first time that your stuff was showcased?
Yes, this was the first time my work was on the runway, and it was actually a dream come true. Walking down, I was mesmerized. I couldn't believe that this was coming to life.
Right, of
And
course.
everyone was looking at what I designed, and this model was walking down.
You're like,
wearing
I did
it.
something.
Yes.
This is me, and they're showcasing
Yes.
it. And you actually won an award, right?
Yes.
Recently, in the
Yes.
past year. What was that award, and what did that feel like?
Hand in Luck actually have an annual competition for embroidery in London. I didn't even think I was gonna get in. I just wanted to try and see. I sent my work in, and I was invited to the gallery, which is actually a competition in London, where everyone walks around and votes for their favorite work.
Right.
And I didn't even think I had a chance.
So you were literally
area.
like, I'm a small fish in a big pond. There's no
Right,
way, and
right.
then you won.
And yep.
So what are some of your inspirations when you design?
Actually, I like to get inspired from stuff that is very relevant and new. So one of my inspirations for a certain project that I did was actually the squirrel suit, which is actually used gliding.
Yeah.
People that parachute off an airplane would just wear this suit, and instead of going right down, they would glide for a few miles, and it's actually huge now.
Yeah, it's very popular.
Yeah, it's very popular. It's very new. It's younger than 10 years old, and it's very extreme sport. And I was really this is the outfit.
Amazing, amazing.
I was
amazing.
inspired by the suit, the actual suit that you could wear and just fly. It's amazing.
Just took your own little inspiration on
Right,
it.
it amazing.
So where can people find you, you know, if they're looking for this, because I am, where can people find your designs?
I actually have a website. It's stavhoffman.com, and it's actually my portfolio. I only have one of each, but
Amazing.
Obviously, yes,
One piece.
One piece of each right now.
Great. So I'm sure you're going to get bigger and better, and your website's going to be filled with sales. Everyone's going to be so
Hopefully.
excited. This is just the beginning for you. I feel it. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All I can say about this girl is that she's just getting started with her fashion career. Make sure you're keeping up with her to get updated on all her latest designs and newest fashion innovations. All right, so it's always hard to come to a new country and try to pursue your dream. You may not speak the same language, and the cultural differences are definitely noticed, but my next guest broke those boundaries, having come from the States and is now a successful singer both here in Israel and back home. Haley, or you could call her Shorty. How are you?
Good, and you?
I'm great.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell for everybody, that doesn't know you, how you really got involved in music and what type of music it is that you do?
Okay, so I was born here. I moved to the
Right.
States when I was 7 with my parents, and then my parents came back here, and my brother and sister are
Yeah.
there. And
Very similar stories.
yeah, exactly, we talked about that.
Yes.
We're pretty much the same thing.
Exactly.
And all my life I've been going back and forth, and I fell in love with hip hop. Basically, when I was 16, I was living in Boston, like half Boston, half New York.
Right.
Fell in love with Biggie, and
doesn't?
who isn't? You know, that's
Exactly.
how we do. And started writing and started creating my own music. Came back here to Israel, and one of my trips, and my first single, I decided to record a song. My first single that I did was called Pinocchio. Major success,
Yes.
blew up like crazy.
Here in Israel, it blew
Here
up.
in Israel.
Okay, and it was in English, I'm assuming?
It was in Hebrew.
The whole thing was
The
in Hebrew?
whole thing was in Hebrew.
Wow.
We took a very famous chorus,
Okay.
the Pinocchio theme song.
Right.
We added the rap, stuff to it, and became a hit. And then I started working on my first album. That was a major hit. And I started doing TV shows, hosting TV shows and movies, and that's pretty much my life. And then I went to culinary school in New
Right.
York. And
Yeah,
got
you
into the
actually
whole
work.
culinary.
You actually work in one of the hottest restaurants
I don't
currently
really work
in
there.
Tel
I'm
Aviv.
one of the people who, founded the
Exactly.
place.
Coco Bambino, we just had
exactly.
Tom Aviv on the show
Tom
here
Aviv, my
talking
friend,
about it.
and
Exactly.
my
And I
partner.
actually met you behind the bar making a bomb ceviche.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Like, how
Oh, yeah.
did music and,
Yeah, that's-
and cooking come together?
Let me tell you, that's how I put my magic on
Exactly.
girls, on women. I cook.
Exactly.
People don't know that I cook, and then I have another talent. If anybody wants to talk about that, I have
Exactly.
my Instagram. Write me.
DM me.
DM me exactly.
So how does that mix?
I always tried as a person to do the stuff that I like.
Right.
And it's not an easy thing in today's world because
Definitely.
you don't always get to do what you love. And I decided at a very young age that I'm going to always try to do what I love and combine art with it because that's who I am. I'm an artist.
Exactly.
And cooking is very similar to writing, very similar to creating music, very similar to, it's a form of art.
Right.
And it became very natural to me. And when I started to have I have a big catering company that I own. I own bars, I own nightclubs, I own restaurants.
She's all over the city.
You know,
She's
a little
everywhere.
bit, a little bit.
Yeah.
And I try to do the stuff that I like, basically.
So basically, you're just pursuing things that are going to make you happy. Whether you wake up in the morning and you're like, oh, I'm really good at cooking, like I should take this up.
Exactly.
And I'm really good at music, and people really connect with my music.
Exactly.
So your new album is coming out soon.
Yes, my new single, it's going to be my third album. Actually, my fourth, pretty much fourth album. It's gonna be the first single's coming out in like I think maybe a month and a half.
Okay.
Something like that.
Something like that.
Something like that, and I'm working on it pretty much every day, trying to get it right. You know, I didn't create music for a long time.
Right.
And I decided that, you know, I'm 34 years old.
Doesn't look it, but
Doesn't
that's
look
what
it, but
is.
yeah, that's what it is. I'm 34, and I decided
this is the time.
I decided that it's the time, and it's gonna be the album that I'm gonna be. I think it's going to be the first album that I'm going to be 100%
passionate.
Not passionate, but I'm going to feel complete about.
Amazing.
That I did exactly what I wanted to do.
We're definitely going to have to come. You're definitely going to have to come back on the show, talk about the album.
What are you talking? We're having drinks this weekend.
Talk about the single, exactly. Coco Bambino, everybody,
You know, we're having drinks this weekend.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, my love. I had a great time.
Thank you. All right, guys. Well, you heard it here first. Make sure to check out Shorty's new album that's dropping. You heard her, in a month or so. And who knows, maybe she'll come perform in a city near you. But even if she doesn't, make sure to go check her out at Coco Bambino. Now, this next story is an emotional one, but definitely a positive one. My next guest has faced unbelievable events in her life that are simply unfathomable, yet has come out of them stronger and better than ever. She's taken her sorrow and pain and channeled it into a source of light. With me in the studio is Meggy Rom to share her story. Hi, how are you?
Hi, how are you? Great.
I'm so happy that you're here with us in the studio, but before we get started, why don't you tell a little bit about yourself for the viewers who don't know you?
Okay, I'm Meggy Rom, an artist, a painter and pianist. I've born in Tbilisi, the capital of Georgia. It's a beautiful country, and since my childhood, I live here in Israel, work and live here.
Another beautiful country.
Another beautiful country, yes indeed.
Amazing. So what kind of art do you do? How can you describe the artwork that you're doing?
Very versatile, from figurative to abstract, lyrical abstract, with many influences of movements of art, from oil paintings to mixed.
Like this stunning one over here.
It's an oil one, yes. And mixed and installations, etc., etc.
Amazing.
Yes.
What about this one? This is a self-portrait, right?
Yeah, this is a self-portrait, and you know, I'm natural here.
Yeah, this is all natural. This is me in my natural state.
Me and my art.
I love it.
Yeah.
So why don't you share a little bit of the story that did kind of lead you? You were talking about obstacles that you shared your friend with. What were some of those obstacles that you did face earlier on?
I had an experience of a tragic event and trauma as a teenager. There is a horrible phenomenon on Middle Asia and Caucasia that called kidnapping of brides. And when a young man falls in love with a young woman and he can't fulfill his love and marry her, so he kidnaps her and rapes her, and then he must be his wife. Then she must marry him, and the guy, let's call him Simon, that was born and raised in this area, came to live with his parents in my environment is Israel, and then when I was just 13, he chose me as his bride. And when he got his refusal, he kidnapped me, but I jumped from a moving car, and that's how I saved my life. But a year after, he was smarter, and he planned the mission better, like a thriller. A woman dressed as a nurse came to my school and got me out of there with the permission of the manager of the school. And she told us that my mother was involved in a car accident and she's in hospital and she wants me urgently to come to her. I ran after her, and when I got into the when I jumped into the car, there was a beginning of 5 horrible days of kidnapping. He was, I'll do it shorter, he was sentenced to 20 years, and why I was forced to marry him, and we have a mutual child. This is a story that if you want to know, you should come to my play.
There you go.
Called...
Keeping everybody on edge now. Everybody needs to know the rest of the story. Where can people find you? I know one of your exhibits is opening up in May. Where can people find you?
My upcoming show that includes the exhibition and my performance is going to take place at Office in Tel Aviv Gallery with the support of the Culture Ministry, yes, and the Municipality of Tel Aviv. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So I wanted to thank Maggie for coming in and sharing her story, for showing that people in the most horrific and unfortunate events and obstacles faced in life, you can always come out stronger, and she's a perfect example. Make sure to check out her exhibit on May 17th at the Misrad Gallery in Tel Aviv. All right, guys, you know what time it is, right? Noa Bonet time. Our little fashionista is here to give us all the updates on Israeli and international news. Today's no different, so let's just jump into it.
Oh my God, Noa Bonet time?
I know.
This is like, whoa. This
People
is like
wait for this moment,
This
okay?
is the best title I've ever gotten from like on TV.
You're welcome.
Yes, okay.
So we are jumping straight into Versace. Donatella just came out,
Just
she
like...
came out like a week and a half ago saying...
But we weren't here.
We weren't here.
Yeah.
It's Israel. She came out saying she's not using fur anymore in her designs. Meanwhile, this is an example of her 2017 collection.
Fur using in the
mink and
happening.
fox all over her 2017 collection. What do you have to say about this?
Okay, first of all, we've talked about that before the show, that how random it was. She just said that in an interview while they were still selling furs in her website.
Exactly.
So I think it was like a little bit of like,
I don't think her team even knew.
Yeah, I think she just said that. She was like, oh, I think I should stop using fur. And then she just said that.
Because a lot of other people, you know, Hugo Boss and Calvin Klein and Armani have all stopped using fur and have all reached out to her about stopping to use fur. And she's never really been compliant with that situation. So why now?
I don't have like, I searched it online and I haven't found like a really good answer about the why now, because it's really good that Versace stopped using fur.
Definitely.
It's kind of late. Like the trend, you know.
I mean, it's 2018. She literally goes, I don't want to hurt animals anymore for fashion, but what about the last, like, God knows how many years?
Decades. Yeah, like I think that it's really like 90s of her, just like the whole conversation about fur. It's like really, really not trendy. It's
exactly.
Like, it's supposed to be. I think, as you said, we're 2018. We don't need to use furs anymore.
Where's faux fur? Like, why are you not using fake fur?
Who's wearing fur? Like how? Like duchesses? I don't know who. Like
I don't think anybody really right now. I mean, listen. Obviously, there's a lot of people who see fur as like, you know, a royalty, you know, like a luxury piece. But I think that people have really taken note on the fact that why use fur when you don't need to use fur?
Yeah, you can use like fake fur, like really good, high-end synthetic fur. You can do that and you don't have to hurt animals. And it's really nice to see Donatella Versace come with this announcement.
Definitely.
Like,
I'm definitely in support of this announcement. Yeah. I'm not anti. Like, we sound like we're not in support of this announcement.
No, we're really supportive.
We're just upset that it took her so long.
What I'm asking myself is like, they're gonna just like get rid of all the fur
I don't
online.
think so. Versace's been using fur for a while now. I think like that's been their staple.
In their outlet, there's like a Jersey outlet for Versace that nobody knows about.
I didn't even know about that, and I'm from New Jersey, okay? So we're not shopping Versace in New Jersey, okay? But definitely in support of that. We sounded like we weren't, but we are.
No, we're super supportive,
super
guys.
supportive.
Don't use fur.
Extremely supportive.
Don't use fur.
But what we do want to talk about next, real quick, random change of topic.
Yes.
Rihanna had this whole scandal with Snapchat. Tell me a little bit about it. We see in the back here. Would you rather slap Rihanna or punch Chris Brown? Why is that even funny?
Shocked, okay? I was shocked because, you know, there's this social media app called Snapchat, was really, really famous, really well used, and then, you know, they had the whole Instagram story versus Snapchat.
Right, Instagram story kind of stole their
thunder and their followers, and the whole you know, conversation about Kylie Jenner.
Right.
Talking about that Snapchat is irrelevant.
Well, the second Kylie Jenner, well, not the second, I want to say maybe 3 hours, it was reported 3 hours after Kylie Jenner posted
they lost
a Twitter.
Like $100 million.
Literally, she wrote, so does nobody else use Snapchat anymore?
Yeah,
and I think maybe over 1 million people stopped using Snapchat at that minute. But before we do jump into that, I think that Rihanna's post, you know, she even said, you know, I love you, Snapchat. I've been a great supporter of your application. But how is it funny to be talking about domestic violence in a joking manner when this was such a public situation?
Know, in this kind of era, but everybody was like a little bit too PC.
Too sensitive.
Too sensitive. You can't do the most unsensitive thing, like
100%.
talking about violence.
Would you rather?
Between celebrities, which such, you know, the whole Chris Brown, he just had this new video with Lil Dicky that I'm against the whole thing. There's so many good rappers that you can use them instead of Chris Brown, and putting this on this well-known app and making this like a hot topic in
this isn't a hot topic. Impossible choices. It's written at the no. It's not an impossible choice. This isn't even a choice. This shouldn't even be there.
I will punch Chris Brown. Okay, if you
just
ask
saying,
me.
if you have to ask.
Slap Rihanna. Why do you even talking about violence?
Who gave you?
Against women on an app in a poll, like
with kids. Kids are looking at this and thinking that it's okay. Whatever happened with them, you know, the whole domestic violence situation that did happen with them, which was very public, and obviously he did come out and have an entire documentary where we apologized about it. Needless to say, this was really disrespectful, and thank you for joining us about this topic. You're going to be back next week to be talking about whatever absurd thing happens in Israeli or international news.
I wish that something would happen to Snapchat.
I'm sure it will. I'm sure it will. I know their stock has gone down like a crazy amount.
Yes.
So thanks,
Another scandal.
Thanks. Well, like usual, expect to see Noah back here on next week's show if you want updates on Israeli and international news. And if you don't, then I guess just come back to see your cute face. That's all the time we have for today's show of Israel in Style. Thanks to all our amazing guests who came into the studio, and for all you viewers who missed even a single second of any episode, you could check us out on iltv.tv/Israel in Style. Have a fabulous, stylish week, everyone.